Year of innovation, resilience, and creative surge. From bold tech leaps to a post-pandemic trade rebound. From a new chapter in China's diplomatic engagements to a flourishing wave of cultural dynamism sweeping the nation. And beyond the headlines, in the beating hearts of communities lie stories of triumph against impossible odds. We dive deep into the new challenges embraced and milestones achieved as China journeys through a landscape of new frontiers and new possibilities. Tune in on CGTN for our year-end special, China Chronicles 2023. Hey, how are you guys doing? Coming to you live from Beijing, I'm Li Qiuyuan. It's so glad to have all of you with us. As we're about to ring in the new year, it's time to look back on an extraordinary 2023 for China. In today's program, we present to you our special year-end program, China Chronicles 2023. From foreign policy achievements to economic milestones, technological triumphs to improvements in people's livelihoods, in 2023, China has made great strides across the board. Stay tuned as we recap the highlights throughout the show. Major country diplomacy with Chinese characteristics has written a splendid new chapter in 2023. The year has witnessed a crucial meeting between Chinese President Xi Jinping and his U.S. counterpart Joe Biden. Official and people-to-people exchanges have picked up pace, and now the two militaries have resumed high-level communication. New working groups in various sectors have been set up, and some agreements have been reached in areas like climate change. Our Pandong looks at how the world's two largest economies charted through harmony and dissonance in a year of uncertainty and transformation.
A Trans-Pacific symphonic harmony presented in Beijing. 8 musicians from the Philadelphia Orchestra joined their Chinese counterparts, illuminating a November night with passion. It's a night with historical resonance. In 1973, the Philadelphia Orchestra was the first of its kind in the U.S. to visit the People's Republic, 5 years before the two sides established formal diplomatic ties. 50 years later, artists from both sides retraced the power of music. I've got a brochure from 50 years ago distributed at live performances of the Philadelphia Orchestra in Beijing and Shanghai. And Mr. Sun now has this brochure from November 2023 in Beijing. It's time to compare notes.
这份节目单也是我第一次看到，所以我觉得这个触摸到这个纸，真的是像在触摸这个历史一样。对对，我觉得这个可能就是音乐的魅力和能量吧，因为音乐是唯一一种不需要翻译的这个国际语言。
How Sun feels about the concert is echoed by David Booth, Philadelphia Orchestra's 73-year-old violinist.
I think that music is one of the strongest arts that transcends politics.
As we look back at China-US ties, the world's most important bilateral relationship in 2023, how about think of it as a grand piece of symphony? A unique feature of this symphonic work is the composing, conducting, and presentation all take joint efforts.
Thank you.
Chinese President Xi Jinping met his U.S. counterpart Joe Biden in San Francisco on November the 15th. The 4-hour summit is a motif-setting one.
无论形势如何变化
No matter how the global landscape evolves, the historical trend of peaceful coexistence between China and the United States will not change.
China proposed a San Francisco vision covering 5 areas for the future of bilateral ties. The summit also produced more than 20 deliverables. Throughout the year, the wheels have been turning fast to set tempo and tune correct. Senior U.S. officials in diplomacy, fiscal and finance, climate, commerce, and U.S. legislators visited China. Chinese officials also visited the U.S. for talks on key issues.
Thank you so much. We're so happy you're here.
Connecting hearts and minds of the two peoples is also crucial. The last surviving flying tigers visited China with their descendants, hoping to pass on the historical bond.
The more people
go to visit each other, the better you understand each other. There's no more conflicts, no misunderstandings. So I think the exchange is important.
However, dissonance remains in China-US ties. Some experts say the US deeds must match its words on issues concerning China's core interests like technology and trade, the Taiwan question. How China and the US will fine-tune dissonance and seek harmony matters to the future of mankind. After all, as the world is undergoing transformation unseen in a century, it's looking out for upbeat notes on stability and prosperity. Pandong, CGTN, Beijing.
And now let's walk through some of the major events in China's packed diplomatic agenda in 2023. To talk more about China's diplomacy, we're pleased to be joined by Ms. Su Xiahui, Deputy Director of the Department of American Studies at the China Institute of International Studies. Welcome to the program, Ms. Su. Now, we just walked through a number of major milestones for China on the diplomatic stage, but reviewing China's diplomacy this year, what do you think is the overall picture?
Well, it is always difficult to summarize the work of the whole year. A lot of things coming up in my mind. But my first key word will be platform for cooperation. This year, we talked about the importance of the Belt and Road Initiative and China's efforts from the diplomatic approaches. As for Belt and Road Initiative and the high-level summits or the forum held this year, China sent out a signal that diplomacy is kind of effort for China to try to introduce the idea, the principle to a lot of countries in the world and try to invite more countries to join in this platform and to achieve so-called joint development. And at the same time, I suppose that the second key word is the political solution. The world is experiencing a lot of changes, and China believes that peace and stability is quite important for a lot of countries in the world, including the countries in the Middle East. So China's effort and China's contribution to the normalization of the diplomatic ties between Saudi Arabia and Iran made an example for the countries in the region and also in the world that things can be talked through diplomatic approaches and they can find out kind of solutions. So it is kind of confidence building for world peace.
And given various international engagement, how is China positioning itself in its complex relationship with the United States, especially in trade, technology, and security? What are the challenges and are there solutions?
Well, I like the word complex. Talking about China-US relationship, we witnessed a lot of changes this year, some positive signals as well as some negative aspects. It is unlikely for the United States to change its policies and strategies towards China. So as for China, our choices is try to make the two countries to try to get along with each other. So from China's perspective, it is not the right choice to try to make compromise under the pressure of the United States in trade, technology, and security. China has to defend its own national interests and send out clear signals to the United States. So it means that China set out kind of coordination or kind of approach for both countries to try to work with each other. So it will make the United States to make the right choice. At the same time, coexistence is quite important for the two major powers in the world, especially after the turbulence and some difficulties, even the risk of crisis of the both countries. China and the United States got to realize that the major powers in the world have to try to coexist with each other. And talking about economic issues, as for China, China will send a signal to the United States that it is unlikely for another major power in the world to try to contain China. So both countries should look into the opportunities for cooperation.
Yeah, one of the most important diplomatic relations in the world. What happens here matters to all of the world. Thank you very much, Ms. Su, joining us live here. China's economy has achieved a recovery in 2023, but consumers and investors remain uncertain. CGTN's Zhong Shi went to Shanghai and asked foreign companies how they fared this year and their evolution of the Chinese market.
This is Shanghai, China's economic and financial center. Currently, about 70,000 foreign companies operate in this metropolis. At the end of 2023, we've come here to Shanghai to feel the pulse of the Chinese economy and talk to some of these companies to hear their assessment of the Chinese market.
At the Shanghai office of French waste management company Veolia, Francois Jenny tells me the more a foreign company understands China's needs today, the stronger the business prospect. And the best way to do that is through collaboration with local partners.
We have always been able to build up very strong local partnership with the government, with local stakeholders, and this is what is making our different projects very successful.
So this is a big bag where we are...
He proudly points to the Blue Circle project on the wall, a marine plastic waste treatment initiative between Veolia and local partners in Zhejiang province that has won the UN's highest environmental award, Champion of the Earth. In coordinating between different stakeholders, Jenny finds it reassuring that governments at all levels are extending a welcoming signal towards the foreign business community.
Whenever I travel to different locations in China, we are always very much welcome by the local Chinese government to support our business, to build business together.
Veolia has been in China for over 30 years, offering sustainable solutions to treat solid and other types of waste. Jenny calls the Chinese market a changing dynamic that offers not more, not less, but different opportunities today than when Veolia first came.
There are different kinds of opportunities, more toward recycling, circular economy. I think China still needs a lot of innovative solutions to be able to achieve their dual carbon policy in 2030 and 2060s. And for this, I think the Chinese market is still offering a lot of opportunities.
Opportunities that have enhanced ties between foreign enterprises and the city of Shanghai.
The 70,000 foreign companies in Shanghai contribute to about 25% of the city's GDP and 1/3 of its tax revenue.
Shanghai is the host city for China International Import Expo, an important platform for global business exchange. This year, the intended deal signed by Chinese buyers with foreign sellers reached a record high. Boston Scientific, a U.S. medical device multinational, is a 5-time attendee at the expo. It announced just this year that it would build in Shanghai its first manufacturing base in China.
China already is the second largest medical market in the world. We do anticipate China take over U.S. in the next few years.
The decision to have its products made in China has been a long time coming for Boston Scientific, who first entered the country in 1997. John says it's a natural progression that demonstrates their continued commitment to the Chinese market. Boston Scientific China is on track to exceed $1 billion in revenue by 2024.
We are extremely confident in the Chinese market in long term. Short term, it may be a little bit obstacle here and there, but we don't even see that as a challenge. We really focus on the long term. We are super bullish, super confident in China's long-term future.
On the topic of moving investment elsewhere, he believes it's rather short-sighted to relocate capital away from China at the moment, and his company is more focused on generating long-term value than short-term cost saving.
We look at the complete picture at what China brings to the world uniquely. China has one of the most complete supply chain in the world. It also brings a unique value, along with the encouraging innovative environment ecosystem. We want to be here. We want to grow with the overall ecosystem. We want to be part of the ecosystem.
I caught up with economist Wang Dan to ask her why most foreign companies like Boston Scientific are determined to keep their business in China.
China remains the largest single market for a lot of the foreign investors, especially if you're in the consumer market. One way or another, you'll end up in China. And this year, we have noticed that a lot of the companies actually increased their investments in areas like logistics, hotel and catering, financial services, because they're viewing that China as a very different market now. And the economy is getting greener, and there's an upgrade in consumption, way more services consumption than goods consumption.
Some people seem to believe that foreign capital is leaving China. What is going on in your observation?
It's actually not true. When we talk to them, a lot of those capital actually is just parked somewhere, waiting for the economy to rebound. And even in areas like the housing market, there are also new opportunities emerge. For foreign investors, they are considering the cost and potential return. And right now, it seems that the economic fundamentals are improving, and the cost of operating in China is decreasing. Foreign companies have the advantage in high-end services, in things like higher-end medical services, education. We expect it to continue the momentum next year. So for foreign investors, opportunities in China are not just in manufacturing. It is also in high-end services and also in consumer markets.
中时 CGTN Shanghai.
In an assertive response to the evolving global economic landscape, China rolled out a series of economic policies in 2023 to revitalize its economy and enhance international financial integration.
In a significant post-pandemic shift, China revived major events such as the China International Import Expo, Consumer Expo, and Service Trade Fair, signaling a concerted effort to resume normal economic activities. In a major move to bolster private enterprises, the government introduced a comprehensive 31-measure strategy, establishing the Private Economy Development Bureau. This was a clear indication of China's commitment to revitalizing the private sector. It also implemented policies including tax incentives to stimulate domestic consumption and expand demand. Maintaining a flexible monetary stance, China's central bank reduced reserve requirements and cut interest rates, while advancing the internationalization of the renminbi. Meanwhile, the renminbi became the fourth most active currency for global payments by value in November. In a strategic bid to invigorate the real estate market, China's top financial regulators issued a policy to lower down payments for both first and second-time home buyers, while further cutting interest rates on existing mortgages, aiming to boost the housing market.
Despite downward pressures, economic activity in China has picked up in 2023 as COVID pandemic restrictions were lifted. Tourism and consumption have seen much of a revival with the return of domestic and international travel. I visited Chengdu, the capital of Sichuan province in southwest China, to feel the pulse of the city's rebound. As China seeks to drive a consumption-led economic recovery, Chengdu is expanding its offering to unleash the spending power of locals and tourists, and they're getting creative. Introducing the theater bus. So hopping on the bus, you get this antique vibe, and the lower deck is their backstage. The upper deck is where the show will be put on, and that is where we shall be seated. For a price of a little over 100 yuan or less than $20, you'll get yourself a 2-in-1 deal, a 60-minute long bus tour, plus an immersive theater experience brought to you by one of the most iconic comic groups in China, Kaixin Manhua, and you even got to be a part of the play. That was quite a show, and this is just one of the new innovative projects Chengdu introduced in 2023 to entice consumers. But that's not all. The city comes even more alive after dark. Consumer spending took a nosedive during the COVID-19 pandemic, but now it's a very different picture. This is what you see in Chengdu on a typical night these days. People hunting for food in the night markets, shopping at commercial streets, enjoying the music in the pubs, a bustling scene where you can feel the city's pulse.
There's a good ice skating rink here. I like the vibe. I will go shopping around here.
I think Chengdu is famous. Many foreigners know it. I studied in Japan. When I talk about Chengdu, Japanese know about giant pandas and Sichuan cuisine. They also say they want to travel to Chengdu.
After the pandemic restrictions were lifted, there are more activities than before, all kinds of activities.
The liveliness is reflected in the numbers. In the first 3 quarters, Chengdu's GDP has reached over 1.6 trillion yuan, or more than $225 billion, an increase of 6.7% compared with the same period last year. By December this year, passenger flights recorded by Chengdu's 2 international airports have reached over a whopping 70 million.
Figures from our travel agency show the number of people entering Sichuan this year has an increase of 146% over the same period last year. Chengdu's popularity has been increasing on social media. It has many iconic sites attracting domestic and foreign tourists to the city. Several big events took place in Chengdu this year, including the Chengdu Universiade. They have increased the buzz and diversified the development of Chengdu.
Beyond Chengdu, China's tourism industry has embraced a good recovery in 2023 despite challenges at home and abroad. A recent report by the China Tourism Academy estimates that domestic tourism visits will reach over 5.4 billion by the end of 2023, and tourism-related revenue in 2023 will reach 5.2 trillion yuan, or about $724 billion, about 91% of that in 2019. Yes, China's economic recovery is still at a critical stage as we head into 2024, but cities like Chengdu are taking the challenges head on. After all, China's economy has the advantages of a vast market of 1.4 billion people, a one-of-a-kind existence that nobody can overlook. Li Qiuyuan, CGTN, Chengdu. Let's now go live to our correspondent, Xin, who is in the lively city of Chengdu. Great to see you there, Xin. Now, in this heart of the vibrant city, I've personally witnessed the liveliness and a fondness for consumption and enjoying live. I mean, we were filming till 10 p.m. one day, and there were still tons of people out there on the street, shopping, dining. It was incredible. I had a blast. What are your observations?
Absolutely, Julian. I can definitely tell that you had a great fun during your trip here in Chengdu. But first of all, I want to show you that the Chengdu city has lit up its tallest twin tower for the new year and night. It is not just another light show that the city has seen over the past year. It is designed as a reflection on the year of 2023 in the city, a year filled with economic boosts, improvements in people's livelihood, and of course Chengdu's thriving post-COVID with some numbers. Firstly, so the city expects a annual GDP growth of over 60% for the year of 2023, and as we know right now, for the first 3 quarters, the numbers have come out and have shown a strong 6.7% GDP growth, one of the fastest among larger Chinese cities. And meanwhile, property market here in Chengdu has also recovered to even surpass 2019 levels, with home prices on an upward trajectory that's not exhibiting huge or too crazy price jumps, and it is warming up again, but without overheating, allowing people to afford homes, and at least for now. And also, the city, most importantly, hosted multiple international events during the year of 2023, including the World University Games and the World Science Fiction Convention, drawing global attentions. And with all these venues either newly built or renovated and modified for the venues, are now bustling with concerts and various live events. And the city has witnessed over 14,000 commercial live performances in the year of 2023, and that has almost or nearly tripled that number from 2022. So definitely we've seen a very vibrant year here in the city, in Chengdu, and for locals to continue celebrating and enjoying the new year of 2024. In addition to the live show, people can also find more outdoor markets, more music and exhibitions, and with some that will running until the end of March 2024, and that also covers the holiday time for the upcoming Spring Festival, coming up very soon actually in February 2024. Back to you, Chiu.
Well, the light show behind you is just amazing. What a spectacular view out there. Thank you so much, Xinchen. Happy New Year in advance. CGTN Live for us in Chengdu. Now, to talk more about China's economic recovery, let me bring in Professor Jiang Gong, Vice President of Research and Strategy at Israel campus of the University of International Business and Economics. Welcome to the program, Professor.
Happy New Year, folks.
Happy New Year, Professor. So now, after a year of health recovery, what's your assessment here? How did China do in boosting its economic engine?
Well, I think overall 2023 will go down in history as a very decent year for economic recovery. I think there's no doubt that we successfully recover from the pandemic. And I think one thing very important is that, you know, this year, 2023, is really not, it's pretty a tumultuous time. I mean, there are at least two wars going on right now. China's economy overall hasn't really been adversely impacted. And I think that's very good news. We didn't get the kind of inflation that was experienced in the United States and Europe, and also we don't see a exodus of, in Germany they call deindustrialization. We don't have that at all here in China. I think these are all very positive signs. We see, for example, a tremendous growth in the service sector, recovery of the tourism, and also shopping, retail, all these things are coming back. And I think another bright spot I want to mention is that China's new economy, I call it new economy, associated with, for example, alternative energies, electric vehicles, things related to the climate agenda. All these things are growing tremendously in 2023, and I think these are all very good news.
What about next year? Looking ahead to 2024, what kind of new trends or opportunities could be there to sustain the growth or even reshape the economic landscape?
Well, first of all, I would say the economic growth target has got to be larger than this year's. I think we achieved about 2%, so a little bit over 5% actually, right, this year. And I think next year we're probably going to get to something maybe close to 6%. That's my prediction for 2024. And aside from this, I think there are a couple of areas that are going to see tremendous growth. Things related with digital economy, I think it's growing like crazy in China. Especially, I think the big platform companies also expanding overseas. You see these two companies being very successful in North American market from China. Another thing, as I said, is still electric cars, solar panels. These things related to the new energy sector, related to the climate agenda. They're going to see tremendous growth in China. I think there's a central government policy totally behind this. So I think these are the really bright spots. Another thing I want to mention is the export sector. The export sector in China in this year actually did not do bad at all. I mean, a little bit over 0% is a little bit positive growth, and I think it's going to see a strong coming back next year. We're already seeing these numbers in December. exports from China is coming back. And another thing I want to mention is that China's relationship with the United States is coming back as well, as on the heels of the very successful visit by President Xi, his visit to San Francisco with President Joe Biden in the United States. And I think China's trade with America is probably going to be much, much better compared to the previous year.
Some hopeful sign there. Yeah. Thank you very much. Always good to have you with us, Professor.
Thank you very much. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Let's now take a look at the people who have shaped 2023, inspiring the nation and beyond the resilience and innovation. Watch. Over the past year, China has made great strides in social development and improving livelihoods. In particular, there have been advancements in promoting the cause of people with disabilities and the elderly, such as guaranteeing their basic livelihoods, education, and employment, and most importantly, promoting the construction of barrier-free environments. Our anchor Ho Na has the story of a visually impaired student who made his way to the top-notch university here in China and shares his struggles and hopes.
Breaking the glass ceiling, 38-year-old Liang Jiangbo became the very first visually impaired graduate student enrolled by Tsinghua University, one of China's most prestigious. It wasn't an easy path.
I've always wanted to pursue higher education, but back then choices were very few for us. I can only go to designated schools for visually impaired students.
Liang was denied equal chances in education when he first graduated from high school. At that time, his options were limited. But things have changed over the years.
The biggest change is our chances for equal education. Things are so different now that we're given equal rights and access to applying for regular universities. That means a change in our fate in choosing future careers.
这是清华大学的录取通知书，祝贺你被正式录取为清华大学的研究生。
这是我梦寐以求的，终于实现了。
11 years after completing his undergraduate degree, Liang finally got the chance to enter graduate school at Tsinghua University. More than 37,000 visually impaired students like Liang are receiving compulsory education nationwide. Over 60% of them are children with poor vision attending regular schools, according to the Ministry of Education. This year, China has taken a landmark move to improve the situation for people with disabilities and others in need of barrier-free services. On September the 1st, China's first barrier-free environment construction law took effect. The law specifies that newly built, reconstructed, or expanded buildings and transport facilities should have barrier-free access.
The law on building barrier-free environments is the top-level design. What's more important is implementation and the technical details. We can see improvements in the hardware. We need to strengthen our efforts on building the software.
Equality and inclusiveness, that's the two keywords I heard most during my interview with my guest. The new law laid a solid legal foundation to create a barrier-free society for the elderly and the disabled. What's more important, they say, is the increasing awareness of the general public and the evolving mindset of people. In Beijing's Xicheng district, one of the oldest districts in the city, efforts are ongoing.
Xicheng district has been focusing on key areas such as urban roads, public transportation, public service venues, and information exchange. Through improving the accessibility facilities within the service circles, we have installed elevators and climbing machines for all the residential areas, and carried out more than 20 professional and personalized services for the elderly and disabled.
These are only part of China's efforts to improve the quality of life in 2023. The country enacted a range of new policies covering education, healthcare, gender equality, privacy, and more, all aspects fundamental to human rights and dignity. While broad in scope, these new policies directly impact the daily lives of the country's most vulnerable groups.
The new law provides a fundamental protection of our rights. I used to feel people were helping me out of charity, but now I feel we're all equal members of society. We're equally entitled to social resources like the rights to education and employment.
For millions like Liao, the road ahead may be bumpy, but it definitely looks brighter. CGTN, Beijing.
This year, China has officially passed and implemented a number of laws and regulations. Let's now review the details of some key bills that have attracted much attention. China's newly revised law on the protection of rights and interests of women comes into force on January 1st this year. The revised law stipulates that the state shall take necessary measures to promote gender equality, eliminate discrimination of all forms against women, and prohibit exclusion, restriction of women's legitimate rights and interests. In June, Chinese lawmakers passed a new law on building a barrier-free living environment, which took effect on September 1st. Underscoring the need to improve the lives of the disabled and elderly, the legislation stipulates that other groups with barrier-free needs may enjoy the facilities as well. At the end of 2023, China amended its charity law, which will take effect on September 5th, 2024. The newly amended charity law stipulates that online platforms for individuals to seek donations should be designated by the country's Civil Affairs Department, and the authenticity of information released on the platforms will also need to be verified. Another new law adopted to safeguard China's food security was passed at the end of this year as well, and will take effect on January 1st, 2024. The food security law emphasizes the establishment of a national agricultural germplasm resource bank and improving the national system for cultivating superior crop varieties. It also stipulates that the state shall introduce measures to boost agricultural efficiency and increase the income of grain growers. Birth rates have fallen in China over the past few years, and that's despite couples being allowed 3 children since 2021. And this year, local governments unveiled a raft of policies seeking to boost fertility. They range from longer maternity leave to subsidies for children, childcare services, house purchases, as well as medical expenses for childbirth. But young couples are still holding off. And to learn more about what they're thinking, CGTN's Wang Mengmeng talked to a family with 3 children.
哇，还有造型哎！谢谢你们，爸爸给你们拍个照。爸爸立刻就要把它记录下来。这是你也参与了哦，谢谢妹妹。
Meet the Pants. A typical weekend for them, but rare enough for me, a mother of 2, to travel 1,400 kilometers to see. In a country where many young couples are reluctant to have even 1 child, what does it take to have 3?
最主要还是要有爱，你得要先要喜欢小孩。
我觉得爱情是基础，我们都喜欢孩子。然后第二个，我们也应该是算是彼此支持，同舟共济吧。我们认识15年，然后结婚其实是第10年了。
你有会觉得就特别累，我要崩溃了，弄不了了，就是受不了的时候吗？
我自己觉得我属于情绪比较稳定。
妈妈情绪很稳定，
太棒了。
可能年龄相差不大的一个原因啊，他们都彼此能带着一起玩，这是一个很关键的。
对，肯定是。
对
，full time job。
对，
而且是 heavy duty full time job。heavy duty，
我经常开玩笑说，妈妈是 uncounted GDP。
那绝对是
属于没统计的 GDP， 这个产值很高的，
太大了
啊。
Love, patience, and a supportive other half. Check, check, check. But there's more. Chinese parents sometimes refer to their kids as 吞金兽, gold swallowing monsters.
生孩子可能需要考虑的一个先决条件就是你有没有足够的经济基础。
这个非常重要。爱是前提，钱是必要条件。
它确实是，因为有弟弟妹妹，你觉得怎么样？骄傲吗？骄傲啊！
我这还是
幸福。
Siblings are uncommon in China for my generation because of the decades-old one-child policy. It ended in 2016 in favor of a second child, and in 2021 was again changed to allow 3. The pressure falls entirely on couples to care for both their parents and the little one, if not once. Adding to the anxiety is an increasingly competitive environment.
就说实话，我觉得我们最大的一个优势，反而是我们的焦虑会比其他人少一些。为什么少一些？因为生一个，他的潜意识里就有一种想法，叫我只有一个，不能出错。所以我都花很多的力气，甚至是过度的关注度去确保不出错。
Not every family is as lucky or as interested as the Pans in the baby business. The number of births in China has been on the decline and hit a record low last year. That came despite incentives such as extended maternity leave and child caring subsidies.
Du Peng is a veteran demographer. He's very much concerned about the downturn and says there's no quick fix.
我觉得还是非常紧迫的，因为现在的这个生育率呢，已经降到了历史上的最低的时候。
Du says dwindling birth rates are a result of socioeconomic development. It could mean fewer people entering the workforce, affecting economic activity in the long run. It also leads to negative population growth and an aging society.
实现人口负增长的逆转呢很难，我觉得是从现在的预测来说呢，人口负增长呢，它会长期的持续下去，但是它呢有可能使出生的人数或者说生育率能够有一定的反弹。中国现在以人口高质量发展去支撑中国现代化呢是非常重要的，也是呢我们最基本的这样一个战略的发展方向。
It is a complex issue, but putting all other factors aside.
别打弟弟是腿上，哎 ，no no no stop。我印象特别深刻啊，我夫人其实不是特别善言表的人，但是我们老大出生的时候，我夫人突然讲了一句话，她说 We come to this world to love， 不知道为什么 out of the blue 就讲了一句，她说 We come to this world to love。
王萌萌 CGTN。
Let's now get more perspectives. Let me bring in my guest, Professor Huo Junxing, a professor at law at the China University of Political Science and Law. Thank you so much for joining us, Professor Huo. So looking back, several new laws have been introduced, and we've seen a number of other laws being revised. How would you assess China's efforts in improving its legal system?
As a law professor, I think that the year of 2023 witnessed the significant progress of Chinese legislation. As you say, that China has revised a lot of existing laws and passed a number of new laws. Well, I think the current leadership of the Chinese Communist Party attach great importance to rule of law. As you know that last November, the report of the 20th National Congress of CPC devoted an entire chapter to regulating and promoting rule of law. In particular, it emphasized that China will step up legislation in key emergent and foreign-related areas. So this year we find a lot of progress in these areas. Although the different laws fall within different areas of law, however, I believe that their purpose is the same. That is to say, to provide a better legal protection for the interests, dignity, and security of Chinese people. So I think that the year of 2023 is a surprise. It's an exciting year for the Chinese law professors and legal lawyers, because it means that China is taking a big stride forward towards the rule of law country, which I think will benefit not only China itself, but also the whole world.
Glad to hear that. Thank you so much for joining us, and Happy New Year, Professor.
Happy New Year.
China reported various breakthroughs in advanced technology, and this year, CGTN's Yang Jiao reviews some of the highlights.
As 2023 draws to a close, let's reflect on some of China's technological achievements and briefly explain their significance. China's narrow-body passenger jet, the C919, completed its first commercial flight in May. Operated by China Eastern Airlines and carrying more than 130 passengers, the flight traveled from Shanghai to Beijing. It took 15 years for the C919 to make this maiden commercial flight. Now, it has been formally put into service, symbolizing China's capabilities in civilian aviation manufacturing. And looking a bit higher, we have China's Tiangong space station, functioning as a national space laboratory. It has advanced space application with a total of 110 in-orbit science research and application projects. And these projects involve life science, human body research, microgravity physics, and new space technologies. So far, nearly 300 experimental samples have been returned to Earth. Weeks ago, the world's first fourth-generation nuclear power plant, the Shida-1 high-temperature gas-cooled reactor, officially went into commercial operation in Shandong province. Its largest selling point is safety. The reactor can maintain a safe state and avoid meltdown or radioactive material leaks, even in the event of complete loss of cooling capacity without any intervention. 2023 also witnessed a reform of China's science and technology administrative sector. China announced the establishment of a central commission that will review major national strategies for scientific and technological development. That represents one of the most significant changes to the country's innovation system in decades, and it paves the way for more policies aimed at achieving core technological breakthroughs. In southern China's Guizhou, the 500-meter aperture spherical telescope, or known as FAST, has found key evidence of the existence of nanohertz gravitational waves. The waves are characterized by extremely low frequency, long periods lasting several years, and a wavelength stretching across several light years. Detecting these waves is challenging, but they can be used to gather information about astronomical events such as binary star systems. These achievements over the past year underscores China's rapid development in various high-tech fields and its increasingly significant role in the global technology landscape.
And now let's walk through the dynamic cultural and social trends of 2023.
In the first half of this year, Zibo, a small city in East China's Shandong province, became an overnight national sensation. Over 200,000 people flocked to its numerous barbecue restaurants for a drool-worthy feast during the Gold Week holiday. This summer, a village super league in Rongjiang County, southwest China's Guizhou province, captured nationwide attention. The league shot local tourism revenue up to over $170 million, attracting over 1 million tourists. This summer saw the rise of citywalks, a fresh way of traveling in which travelers stroll leisurely to immerse themselves in the city landscapes. Cities such as Beijing, Shanghai, Guangzhou, Changsha, and Chengdu have emerged as popular destinations in China. Chinese cinemas thrived with domestic films dominating the box office in 2023. Blockbusters such as the whodunit movie Full River Red and the science fiction Wandering Earth 2 both grossed over $570 million. The animated film Chang'an, among others, set summer box office records. Hanfu, the traditional Chinese garment, trended throughout this year, igniting a craze in both tourist attractions and online short video platforms. The Alibaba shopping platform saw an over 50% year-on-year increase on Hanfu sales. Live stream shopping, which provides consumers with an intuitive, real-time experience, has continued to gain momentum in the past year. Cumulative live stream sales on e-commerce platforms reached $180 billion in the first half of this year. A special forces-style tourism became a travel craze that swept China. Young travelers visit as many attractions and try as many delicious food dishes as possible, while spending the least amount of time and money. Live performances in person have experienced a recovery, with people flocking to concerts, music festivals, and talk shows. The performance scene saw a surge in both numbers and scale.
With social events back with a vengeance this year, we've been asking what the latest lifestyle trends are. The place to go to gauge what people are interested in is China's highly engaged social media scene. CGTN's Zhao Yan explores some of the popular things young Chinese have been sharing.
If the 3 years of COVID taught us anything, it's that health is paramount. Sports and fitness have never been more vogue than in 2023, and China is now the fastest growing market. More people are running, hiking, working out in the gym, and trying more niche sports like snowboarding, paddleboarding, climbing, and pickleball. And trying it out with me is Xian Xian. She actively blogs on all things, well, active.
因为我是一个运动玩的样式比较多的人，然后就会想把最好玩的，然后最容易坚持的去分享给这些小白的网友朋友们。然后因为是在我的周边，我发现很多朋友受我这种爱运动的影响，都变得好起来。 然后就觉得，哎，我还可以靠自己的爱好去影响到更多人。但是现在呢，会有越来越多运动社群的兴起，比如说飞盘俱乐部，比如说跑步社群，还有一些滑雪俱乐部。那大家是通过运动社群把大家连接在一起，然后去认识更多新的朋友，社交属性变强了。这对于他们来说是一种新型的生活方式，不只是局限于枯燥的运动训练。
In other words, being fit is trendy.
Equally, it's about sitting back in the picture-perfect setting. 2023 is the time for a comeback for physical bookshops.
In 2022, their sales revenue made up for just 15% of total book sales. Now, bookstores have had to adapt to the fierce competition from online sellers, and if they can't win on price, then they've got to offer more.
Jetlag Books opened right in the midst of the pandemic.
年轻人确实，我们处在一个确实就是压力比较大，然后生活节奏比较快的一个时代里面。然后我们希望通过书店的这样一个空间，然后内容的选品、好的展览的活动，包括像一些设计灵感的这样的一个呈现，让大家来到这个空间的时候，能够感受到美，感受到来自于世界的灵感。
And if people pick up a few good reads in the process, that's great all round.
Call it revenge spending or what you will, but 2023 is without question spring for the live entertainment industry. In just the first 3 quarters of the year, more tickets for performances were sold than pre-pandemic in 2019. A Weibo survey found that 3/4 of concert and festival goers are looking to let off steam, get away from the pressures of work and life. Well then, how does letting loose in a room full of strangers sound?
This is improv theatre. Some reticence at first. After a few icebreakers.
作为一个爱人，然后到任何场合里面，其实都是一个很紧张、很拘束的一个那种环境。然后对自己的话，其实没有什么提升。如果你到任何场合里都交不到朋友的话，其实就，总是线上跟别人交流的话，所以我就在看到这个宣传之后呢，所以我就想来尝试一下。
2023 is, after all, a year for a reset and for seizing the moment.
All right, CGTN very own Zhao is joining me here in the studio. Look at all the cool stuff you get to do.
Yeah, it was fun actually.
From improv theater to new bookstores, niche sports. So there's definitely been a new trend in how young people are living this year. Talk to us more about it. What do you think is driving that trend?
Yeah, I mean, you listed a lot of things there. Before I get to that, just a quick disclaimer that I cannot claim to speak for the youth in any way. I mean, we're talking about the millennials and Generation Z, which I'm no longer a part of.
Come on, we're very youthful.
We're young at heart. But you know, I am an observer on social media. That's the generation that love to share their lives, right? So looking at social media, you know, I think a lot of these things that you listed as some of the trends of this year and the things that I was exploring, I think it comes down to one simple reason, and that is COVID. You know, people for 3 years were very much confined to their homes, to these downsized social circles. So there was this pent-up demand, and that's resulted in, you know, the revenge traveling, revenge consumption, socializing, lots of different kind of just extras of everything, right? And so city walks, for example, I think that also shows this newfound appreciation for all the little things that make life great, right? Being able to go into a cafe without worrying about getting a pop-up code that means you have to stay at home for 7 days because you may have crossed paths with someone who tested COVID positive. And outdoor sports as well. The girl sports blogger that I was speaking to, she was saying she and her friends during that time would try and meet up outdoors if they can't gather indoors and do some kind of camping, hiking, running together. And that's very much sustained itself to now. It's all about making up for that lost time to compensate. And another underlying driver is, I think, this need for individuality and self-expression now amongst the young people. You see this reflected in their consumption preferences now. A lot of them are looking to more boutique brands for a more tailored, a more customized experience or product. You know, a lot of people are willing to splash out on just a pair of trainers because it makes a statement about who they are, right? And Julian, you've probably heard of the MBTI personality test.
Oh yeah, I do. They're so popular this year.
Yes, exactly.
Are you an I person or an E person?
Yes.
Everybody is asking these questions.
It's very much a social code now amongst young people. You know, they talk about like ENTP, SPNG. I'm totally making this up, right? But yeah, you get my point. It's all about diversity. And I think that also reflects young people's need to no longer conform. You know, they don't need to fit some social mold, that it's okay to be who they are, to be themselves. And just one last thing to point out, this renewed interest in local cultures and to Chinese styles that you mentioned, that too, I think, also reflects this growing confidence in who they are and, you know, where they come from. I think that's great.
Very fun. I had a lot of fun watching your report.
Thank you. Next time we'll
Happy
pickleball
New Year.
together.
Let's do that. Happy New Year, and thank
you
you so much. So now, as we bid adieu to 2023, let's embark on a journey of reflection of this year. We've witnessed a year where politics were not just about governance, but about the dreams and aspirations of millions, where the economy rebounded, not just in numbers, but in the renewed hopes of communities, where law wasn't merely about order, but about justice and fairness seen in the lives of everyday people. In culture, we saw not just the preservation of heritage, but a vibrant celebration of a civilization. Each story we've unfolded over the year has been a testament to the resilience, the challenges, and the underlying spirit of the Chinese people. As we sum up the multifarious aspects of China's journey through 2023, let's embrace the milestones and stories of the progress, unity, and enduring hope. Bye for now.
Our top story this hour, China has lifted quarantine requirements for inbound travelers from abroad.
This Spring Festival travel officially begins today.
青春没有售价，淄博就在脚下。来北京的朋友们，生存1分钟，快乐60秒。 From China, do you remember me? CGTN milestone.
希望一个人会好。I'm Chinese and proud to be Chinese.
AI, the pronunciation of this word in Chinese is I, which means love.
不是超过它的问题，是你自己在创造一个高标准的问题。
Magnitude 7.8 earthquake.